Norland, the medieval colony sim of leading your noble family in a tough and unforgiving world. Many different scenarios take place in this game, such as class conflicts, invasion of enemy kingdoms, and many more. In today's video, we take a look at the way the game works to help you decide if this game is for you. So at first it looks like it brings us to the customization menu. So over here we can see where the names are, the family, and the skills we can have for our nobles. And obviously we can change them as well, which makes this very nice. I did notice, however, the higher skill stats you do select, the more your characters age. So probably best to not select too much, otherwise we'll have too many old heads in the nobility. And if we have too many of them, how are we going to repopulate? So after I customized all the nobility, it brought us to the world map, which shows each territory and which one we can rule. Over here it has a nice little indication to show which resources are in each area, showing what we could potentially be working with if we want to trade or produce certain goods for our land. Once we selected our territory, it showed us all different game parameters to spice up future saves once you're more comfortable with it. Give yourself more of a challenge or make the first save a little bit easier if you want extra resources. Now that we're in the game, we can actually see a nice clear layout of everything. At the bottom it seems there are 9 tabs showing the construction, production, finance, statistics, army, dynasty, knowledge, trade, and the world map. Let's get right into it and have a look and see how it all affects the gameplay. From what I gathered, construction was pretty straightforward. As you can expect from a city builder, it allows for the collection of resources and the production of buildings such as a tavern, barracks, lumber mills, and many other buildings. The lumber mills will let us collect some wood, the farms will let us produce some crops, and overall it gives our peasants some work to do, so it seems pretty straightforward so far. Wrong! I quickly had no goods being produced and I was wondering why this was, but then I realised that each area your peasants are to be stationed on, you actually have to assign a noble to come along and give them work, so very different from usual, because apparently they can't think for themselves either, the stupid sheep. Well, from the resources the sheep, I mean the villagers, produce, you can actually tell them to make a product in the production tab. This could be beer, wheat, and many other different essential items, like more beer. Sweet, sweet beer. Which in the finance menu, you can see the price of each to sell at the end of the day to each peasant. They'll be able to buy the products from the wage you assign to them over here, but be careful though, because I quickly noticed that you actually have to give them a fair wage. If they can't afford some decent food or drink at the end of the day, they'll become mad, like stupid mad, and just end up leaving the village. And you don't want a village with no peasants, because if we have no peasants, we'll just have the fat nobles. And we know these fat nobles aren't going to do any of the work that these guys do. I was able to find that this can be viewed in the statistics area, which both shows off how the people are feeling overall and the resources produced in a day to make sure those villagers are getting their work done. I noticed though, if the villagers weren't getting their work done, it comes down to a couple things, such as like the management stat of a noble. If that's good, then more goods will be produced, or if the buildings are upgraded enough to meet the demand, if there are enough workers for that building. If not, then you just won't produce enough goods. I then saw that there was a villager who looked very, very different from the rest. And it turns out if they're mad and they don't want to leave the village, they'll turn to a life of crime. And that's what this guy is here. The two different people who can turn to crime is a cutthroat and a bandit. Both criminals, but one commits more extreme crimes by the looks of it. Well, to keep these criminals in check, we're actually going to need an army, which for any medieval town, that's actually fairly important. I found this tab here which controls who you want to lead an army and who is in the army. Though most peasants won't be able to fight without any way to train them, I was able to hire mercenaries in the meantime. They were able to patrol the town to keep crime at a low, and of course when we need to stop invaders. I then though thought of a big issue when having someone lead my army. The thing is, we think of nobles as fat, smelly drunks, and let's be honest, if you're in an army, who wants to be led by that? So in the Dynasty tab, you can tell your nobles if you want them to be a fat, smelly drunk, or a leader like Napoleon, or someone better, like me. I quickly understood one of the most important tabs though, and that was the knowledge section. Hey, look, listen, I know what you're thinking. Why need knowledge when you can hit the weights and take everything by force? Every town, every coin, every bit of food. Well, buddy, listen here, without knowledge, you wouldn't be able to watch this video right now on the device you're looking at. So drop those weights and hit the books. When nobles read books, it can unlock many different things for construction and resource collection to improve your town and be the leading light in the world. I didn't have many books at first though, which was a big problem. I actually found out at the end of the day when a trader comes by, he'll give you some books if you buy it off him for a good price. He sells many things such as the books, items, weapons, and people? A major problem I did find though was that if something happens to a noble who reads a book and didn't share the knowledge, everything will be lost. Everything that noble knew is gone. This became a big issue as my nobles were aging quite quickly, so I quickly had to try and make sure that they were telling the younger generation everything. Many things can happen to your noble in this game, such as sickness, shredded by dogs, or even just old age, as I'm starting to realise, so make sure to spread that knowledge around. In the meantime, while I was unlocking many different buildings from the books I read, it sounds great, I didn't have the resources to build all of them, so I had to quickly find a way to get the resources. And the best way to do that was through trade routes. By having trade routes, it ensures you have every resource available to you. So be nice to your neighbours. They may have something you need, and you may have something they need. For some I wasn't able to set up a trade route. You actually need to have a plus 25 in relationship. So I was checking through the neighbours' relationship to make sure the relationship was good enough for a trade. I was able to do this by going to the world map. In the world map it actually shows the relationships of all your neighbours and all the different events going in the world around you. Some of the events that I saw was some asking for marriage and some even asking for silence in contracts. Each of the events have drawbacks and gains from making a choice. You can even make your own game events by inviting them out for a hunt or a game of dice. Both great ways of improving relationships and making allies, which is a big plus if you're going to war. A final note is the game mechanics have been clear and smooth to use, so it's quick to get the hang of, even for someone like me, and to be honest, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. Overall, Norland shows off beautiful art with many different scenarios taking place to keep the game interesting. The final score I give for Norland is a 7 out of 10, while Steam reviews give the game a mostly positive out of currently 3,000 plus reviews. My only criticism of the game would be that the imbalance of the Lord arrivals to the amount of jobs that can be given out. While it can be fixed with other things such as hiring temporary nobles or in the later game a chancellery, this can be a bit tedious. Another criticism is if a lord dies with all the knowledge with them, it will be lost, which again becomes really tedious to teach a whole new generation with books. Well, the game is in early access, so a lot of the changes can be implemented. But with the way the game looks at the moment, with this video only covering the basic rundown without going into the more complex controls and story, it looks fantastic, and players can only have high hopes for the future. Anyway guys, that's it from me. I hope you all enjoyed this video of a review on Norland. If there's any other games you'd like to see me review, or anything I can do to improve the video, please comment and let me know. Apart from that, please like and subscribe for more reviews and gameplays, and I will see you all later.